What if I told you that the reason you're struggling financially has nothing to do with your skills, your education, or even your work ethic? What if the real problem is something you're doing in the first 18 minutes after you open your eyes each morning? I know that sounds almost ridiculous, doesn't it? But stay with me here, because what you're about to discover might completely transform the way you think about mornings, money, and the invisible forces that shape your financial reality every single day. See, most of us wake up and immediately reach for that glowing rectangle on our nightstand. Before our feet even touch the floor, before we've taken a conscious breath, we're already scrolling through emails, checking notifications, consuming news designed to trigger fear and anxiety. Has this ever happened to you? You open your eyes, feeling relatively peaceful, maybe even hopeful, and within 60 seconds of grabbing your phone, you're already stressed, overwhelmed, and mentally defeated before your day has even begun. Here's what's actually happening in those crucial first moments. You're programming your entire day. You're setting the energetic frequency, the mental bandwidth, the spiritual channel through which everything else will flow. And when you start from a place of reaction rather than creation, when you begin in chaos rather than clarity, you're essentially surrendering your power before you've even claimed it. Think about it. You're letting the outside world dictate your inner state before you've had any chance to establish your own foundation. But before we go deeper into this, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now here's where this gets really interesting. There's a specific 18-minute protocol, a morning ritual that's been used by some of the most successful people throughout history that completely reverses this pattern. Instead of waking up in spiritual chaos, you wake up in spiritual authority. Instead of starting your day on defense, you start it as the creator of your reality. And the fascinating thing is that this isn't just some mystical concept. There's actual science behind why these first 18 minutes have such disproportionate power over everything that follows. What you're about to discover might surprise you because it challenges everything we've been taught about productivity, morning routines, and wealth creation. This isn't about waking up earlier or working harder. This is about understanding that before you do anything else, before you check a single message or think about your to-do list, there's a spiritual technology that positions you in alignment with abundance. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens during these 18 minutes, and more importantly, why most people completely miss this window of opportunity that could change everything. Let me explain something that most people fundamentally misunderstand about mornings. We've been conditioned to think of morning as the time when we prepare ourselves to handle whatever the day throws at us. We wake up, we brace ourselves, we get ready to react to the demands, the problems, the chaos that's waiting out there. But this is completely backwards. The morning isn't a defensive position. It's an offensive strategy. It's not about preparing to react. It's about stepping into your role as the creator of your reality. Think about it this way. When you wake up, you're in a state that you'll never be in again for the rest of the day. Your mind hasn't been cluttered yet with 1,000 inputs. Your energy hasn't been drained by decisions and interactions. Your spirit hasn't been pulled in 50 different directions. You're in a rare state of pure potential, standing at a threshold where the invisible becomes visible, where intention becomes reality. This is the moment when divine gates, if you will, are wide open. This is when you have maximum access to the creative forces that shape your entire existence. But here's the hidden truth that changes everything. There's a specific way to harness this moment. It's not random. It's not about just thinking positive thoughts or setting vague intentions. There's an actual protocol, a precise sequence that was discovered and refined by spiritual pioneers who understood how energy, consciousness, and manifestation actually work. One of the most remarkable teachers who brought this wisdom forward was Florence Scovel Shinn, a metaphysical teacher from New York in the early 20th century. She wasn't some distant mystic living in isolation. She was a woman navigating the same material world we all face, dealing with money, relationships, and the practical challenges of daily life. What Florence discovered through her own journey and transformation was something she called the 18-minute manifestation protocol. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because understanding where this came from helps you grasp why it works so powerfully. Florence wasn't just teaching theory. She was sharing a technology that she and countless others had tested in the real world. This wasn't born from books or speculation. It came from observing what actually produced results, what actually shifted people's financial reality from struggle to flow, from scarcity to abundance. If you're ready for content that actually transforms your life, hit that subscribe button. This channel is for people serious about real change. The beauty of this protocol is its precision. 18 minutes. Not 15, not 20. 18. Because within those 18 minutes, there's a specific sequence that works with how your consciousness operates, how your energy aligns with universal laws, and how you position yourself to receive rather than chase. The greatest success stories, the ones where people went from barely surviving to thriving beyond their imagination, often had this ritual as their secret engine. It was happening behind the scenes, in the privacy of their mornings, long before anyone saw the external results. This is the part that fascinates me most. The impact of those 18 minutes extends far beyond just that morning. It creates a ripple effect that influences every decision you make, every opportunity you notice, every person you attract into your sphere. It's like tuning a radio to the exact frequency where the signal is clearest. When you're on the right frequency, everything flows. When you're not, you're just picking up static and interference. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to create," if this resonates with you so far. Now, I need you to understand something critical here. Because there's a common misconception that could prevent you from accessing the real power of this practice. When people hear about morning rituals and manifestation, they often think it's just about positive thinking. They assume it's about repeating affirmations in the mirror or visualizing success while feeling a bit silly. And look, there's nothing wrong with positive thinking. It's certainly better than negative thinking. But what we're talking about here goes infinitely deeper than that. This is spiritual technology, and I use that word technology very deliberately. Technology is something that works regardless of whether you fully understand why it works. You don't need to comprehend the physics of electricity to flip a light switch and illuminate a room. You don't need to understand aerodynamics to fly in an airplane. The technology works because it's built on fundamental laws that govern how reality operates. The same principle applies here. This 18-minute protocol is a technology that works with the invisible architecture of consciousness, energy, and manifestation. So the real question isn't whether this is scientifically possible or whether it sounds too mystical. The real question is far more personal and far more urgent. Are you ready to stop waking up with anxiety and start waking up with authority? Are you prepared to trade that familiar morning dread, that sinking feeling when you open your eyes and immediately feel the weight of everything you're worried about, for a morning decree of wealth, power, and creative control over your day? Because here's what I've discovered through my own journey and through watching countless others transform their lives. There's a moment of decision that precedes the transformation. It's not enough to just know about this protocol. It's not even enough to understand intellectually why it works. There has to be a commitment, a declaration, a moment where you stand at the threshold and announce to yourself, to the universe, to whatever higher power you recognize, that you're ready, that you're done playing small, that you're finished being a victim of circumstance, tossed around by whatever chaos the world throws at you each morning. This declaration is what separates those who dabble from those who actually experience breakthrough results. When you say, with genuine intention, "I am ready to master my morning," something shifts in the invisible realm. You're not just talking to yourself. You're issuing a signal, a frequency, a call that aligns you with forces and opportunities that were always there but couldn't reach you because you weren't in the right position to receive them. This isn't metaphorical language. This is describing actual mechanics of how manifestation operates in your life. The beginning of transformation always starts with a decision, and that decision requires you to be honest about where you are right now and where you're willing to go. Most people aren't willing to make this commitment because it means they have to stop making excuses, stop blaming external circumstances, stop hiding behind the comfortable story that they're doing their best, but life is just hard. Drop "I commit" in the comments if you're genuinely ready to make this shift. What I'm about to share with you is something that took me years to fully appreciate. And it's one of those hidden truths that separates people who experience temporary motivation from those who sustain lasting transformation. You can have the most powerful protocol in the world. You can understand the mechanics of manifestation perfectly, but if you're trying to walk this path alone, you're fighting with one hand tied behind your back. There's a reason why every major spiritual tradition, every transformative movement throughout history, has emphasized the power of community. It's not just about feeling less alone or having people to talk to. It's about the actual energetic amplification that happens when dedicated souls come together with a shared intention. When you're surrounded by people who are also committed to reclaiming their financial power, who are also doing this 18-minute protocol each morning, who are also breaking free from the limiting patterns that kept them stuck, something remarkable happens. There's a collective field that gets created, a resonance that makes your individual practice exponentially more powerful. It's like the difference between a single candle in a dark room and 100 candles burning together. The light doesn't just add up, it multiplies. This is why being part of a movement, a community of people on this same journey, accelerates your results in ways that would be impossible on your own. But here's where the path divides. Some people will take what they've learned so far and try to piece it together themselves, which is fine. There's value in that exploration. But for those who are truly serious, for those who want the complete blueprint rather than scattered fragments, there's a systematic approach that takes you by the hand and walks you through every single element of building a life of genuine wealth and spiritual purpose. I'm talking about a comprehensive framework that doesn't just teach you the morning protocol, but shows you how to integrate these principles into every decision you make, every interaction you have, every moment of your day. This isn't about quick fixes or surface-level tricks. This is about understanding the architecture of prosperity at its deepest level and having detailed guidance for implementing it in your actual life, not just in theory. Because the revelation that changes everything isn't just knowing what to do, it's having a clear map that shows you exactly how to do it, step by step, with precision and confidence. The people who experience breakthrough results aren't the ones who dabble with scattered information. They're the ones who commit to a complete system and follow it through. The difference between transformation and stagnation often comes down to whether you're willing to go all in or whether you'll stay on the surface, hoping that partial commitment will somehow produce full results. And what I've witnessed behind the scenes, in the lives of people who've genuinely shifted from struggle to abundance, is that they all reached a point where they stopped collecting information and started implementing a proven system with discipline and faith. Type "I'm going deeper" in the comments if you recognize that you're ready for the complete journey, not just fragments of it. There's something profound happening every single night that most people are completely unaware of, and understanding this changes your entire relationship with sleep and waking. When you close your eyes and drift into sleep, you're not just shutting down your physical body for maintenance and rest. Something far more significant is taking place in the invisible dimensions of your existence. Your soul, that eternal essence that animates your body and gives you consciousness, actually ascends. It leaves the battlefield of daily life, the physical realm with all its density and struggle, and returns to higher realms where it's cleansed, recharged, and reinfused with pure light and energy. Sleep is essentially a temporary separation, a nightly death and rebirth cycle that most people take completely for granted. You're being restored at levels you can't see or measure with physical instruments. Old energies are being cleared. Your spiritual batteries are being recharged. You're being given a fresh download of life force that prepares you for another day of creation and experience. This is why sleep deprivation is so devastating. It's not just physical fatigue, it's spiritual deprivation. You're being denied this crucial restoration process that connects you back to your source. But here's where the real magic happens, and this is the revelation that unlocks everything we've been building toward. When you wake up in the morning, your soul returns. And it doesn't come back as the same tired, worn-out entity that went to sleep the night before. It returns as a brand new entity. You are literally being given a fresh start, a clean slate, every single morning. The first moments when consciousness returns are the most spiritually potent moments of your entire day, bar none. At that precise instant, before the mind kicks in with its worries and narratives, before you remember your problems and obligations, you are a pure, untainted vessel directly connected to infinite possibility. If this resonated with you, hit that like button. It helps this message reach more people who need it. This is not metaphorical language. This is describing what's actually happening at the level of consciousness and energy. You wake up in a state of spiritual purity that you will never have again until the next morning. You're standing at the threshold, between the eternal and the temporal, between the infinite and the finite. The divine gates are wide open, and you have complete access to creative forces that will begin to close the moment you plug back into your ordinary consciousness and identity. But here's the tragedy, the thing that breaks my heart every time I think about it. Most people completely waste this moment. They suffer from what I call spiritual amnesia. They forget who they really are. They forget the power they possess. They forget that they're not just flesh and blood struggling to survive. They're divine beings capable of shaping reality itself. And this forgetting happens in seconds, usually triggered by that first unconscious reach for the phone. Leave "I remember now" in the comments if you're starting to see how much power you've been giving away without even realizing it. The moment you open your eyes, there's a battle that begins, and most people don't even know they're fighting it. Within seconds of consciousness returning, your mind starts reaching back, trying to reconnect with your identity from yesterday. Who am I? What are my problems? What do I need to worry about? And in that reaching, in that automatic plugging back into yesterday's reality, you forget the most important truth about yourself. You forget that you're not just a person with bills to pay and problems to solve. You forget that you're a divine being, endowed with creative power that extends far beyond what your rational mind can comprehend. There are forces at work, call them negative energies, limiting beliefs, or just the momentum of collective unconsciousness, that desperately want you to forget this. Because the moment you remember who you truly are, the moment you step into your full authority as a creator rather than a victim, you become dangerous to the old patterns that have kept you small and struggling. Your creative power is immense, but it can only flow when you remember it exists. This forgetting isn't accidental. It's the default setting of a consciousness that hasn't been trained to maintain awareness during the transition from sleep to waking. And what's the primary tool that ensures you forget? What's the mechanism that almost guarantees you'll miss this sacred window of possibility? It's that device sitting on your nightstand. Your phone has become a black mirror, a portal that instantly yanks you out of the realm of creation and dumps you into the realm of reaction. Think about what happens in those first moments when you grab your phone. You're immediately flooded with other people's thoughts, other people's agendas, other people's problems. You're consuming news designed to trigger fear and anxiety. You're seeing emails that make you feel behind before your day has even started. You're scrolling through social media that makes you feel inadequate, jealous, or overwhelmed. Every notification is pulling you further away from your center, further from that pure state you woke up in. This isn't just bad habit. This is spiritual sabotage. When you check your phone first thing in the morning, you're taking that pure, clean soul that just returned from its nightly restoration and you're dragging it through the mud before you've had any chance to fortify it, to ground it in its own power, to establish your intention for the day. You're voluntarily surrendering your sovereignty in exchange for the illusion of staying connected and informed. But what you're really doing is disconnecting from the only connection that actually matters. Your connection to Source, to infinite intelligence, to the creative force that wants to flow through you. The impact of this single decision ripples through your entire day in ways you can't even track. You've set the frequency wrong from the very beginning, and everything that follows will be filtered through that distorted lens. You wonder why you feel anxious all the time, why you can't seem to get ahead, why abundance feels just out of reach. It's because you're starting every single day by giving away your power before you've claimed it. Write "no more phone" first in the comments if you're recognizing this pattern in your own life and you're ready to break it. So let me paint a picture of what actually happens when you surrender those first precious moments to distraction and chaos. You're setting an energetic tone that reverberates through every hour that follows. When you start your day in a state of lack, already feeling behind, already anxious about what you need to do, already consuming fear-based information, you're essentially programming your nervous system to operate in survival mode. You're not creating from abundance, you're reacting from scarcity. And here's the devastating truth about this pattern. You end up playing defense all day long, like a ship without a rudder being tossed about by whatever waves of circumstance crash into you. You feel like you're constantly putting out fires, always one step behind, perpetually trying to catch up but never quite getting there. And the most frustrating part? You're working hard, you're hustling, you're doing all the things you think you're supposed to do. But the results don't match the effort, because the foundation was shaky from the very first moment you opened your eyes. The energetic frequency you locked into during those initial minutes of consciousness determined what you could perceive, what opportunities you could notice, what solutions you could access. When you start from chaos, you stay in chaos, regardless of how hard you try to break free throughout the day. But here's where everything shifts. And this is where ancient wisdom becomes incredibly practical and powerful. For thousands of years, spiritual teachers and mystics understood something that modern society has completely forgotten. They knew that the antidote to morning chaos isn't willpower or discipline or even having the perfect routine. The antidote is gratitude, but not the superficial kind where you mechanically list things you're thankful for. I'm talking about a specific practice that rewires your consciousness at the deepest level. The entire 18-minute protocol is built upon one foundational practice that seems almost too simple to be powerful. Yet it's the key that unlocks everything else. Before you open your eyes, before you move a single muscle, before you allow any thought about your problems or your day to enter your mind, you offer thanks. You express gratitude for the very fact that you're alive, that consciousness has returned, that you've been given another opportunity. This single act, performed with genuine feeling in those first pure moments of waking, creates an instantaneous shift from lack consciousness to abundance consciousness. What you're doing in that moment is training your brain to scan for what's working rather than what's missing, to orient toward possibility rather than limitation. You're establishing yourself as the creator of your experience rather than the victim of circumstance. And because you're doing this before the analytical mind fully kicks in, before the ego reasserts its narratives, the practice goes deeper than conscious thought. It programs the subconscious. It shifts your energetic vibration. It positions you in alignment with forces that can only reach you when you're in a state of receptivity and appreciation. Leave gratitude first in the comments if you're beginning to see how this one shift could change everything about how your days unfold. Now let me share with you the exact words that have the power to reset your entire spiritual operating system in less than 30 seconds. These aren't random affirmations or generic positive statements. These are specific words, carefully constructed, that work with the architecture of consciousness itself. The moment you feel yourself returning to waking awareness, before your eyes open, before you reach for anything, you speak, either aloud or in your mind, this declaration: I offer thanks to you, living and eternal presence, for you have mercifully restored my soul within me. Your faithfulness is great. Just 12 words. But within those 12 words are encoded secrets that mystics have understood for millennia. Each phrase is doing something specific, activating a different aspect of your awareness and shifting your relationship with reality itself. When you say, I offer thanks, you're immediately positioning yourself not as a beggar asking for things, not as someone who needs to prove their worthiness, but as someone who already has something to be grateful for. You're starting from abundance, not lack. You're acknowledging that the very fact of your existence, the miracle of consciousness returning to your body, is already a gift beyond measure. The phrase living and eternal presence reminds you that you're not alone, isolated, struggling against an indifferent universe. You're connected to something infinite, something that exists beyond time and space, something that's present right here, right now, in this very moment. And then comes the revelation that changes everything. For you have mercifully restored my soul within me. You're acknowledging that your life is not a given. Your consciousness returning, your ability to experience another day. This was an act of mercy, an act of grace. You didn't earn it through your efforts yesterday. It was given, freely. And the final phrase, your faithfulness is great, is perhaps the most profound of all. You're recognizing that the universe, God, source, infinite intelligence, whatever language resonates with you, has faith in you, not the other way around. You're not trying to convince some distant deity that you're worthy. You're acknowledging that you've already been deemed worthy. The fact that you woke up, that your soul returned, proves that there's faith in you, belief in your potential, confidence in what you can become today. This is why gratitude must be the foundation, the very first act of your day. Not asking, not pleading, not immediately launching into what you need or want or hope will happen. Just pure, simple, profound thanks for what already is. This creates an instantaneous shift in your consciousness from lack to abundance. You're not starting your day by focusing on what's missing or what's broken or what needs to be fixed. You're starting by acknowledging what's already working, what's already whole, what's already given. And from that foundation of gratitude, everything else builds in a completely different way. Type I am grateful in the comments if you're feeling the power of starting from this place of acknowledgement rather than need. What happens in this moment of gratitude goes far beyond what most people realize. You're not just saying nice words or performing some religious obligation. You're entering into a state of profound, unmediated intimacy with the source of everything. In that instant, when you're expressing thanks before your mind has reconstructed all its barriers and defenses, there's no distance between you and infinite intelligence. There are no intermediaries, no complicated rituals required, no worthiness tests you need to pass. You're standing face to face with the ultimate reality, and that reality is meeting you with complete openness. This is the hidden truth that transforms the practice from a mechanical routine into genuine spiritual technology. When you approach the morning with this level of awareness, you're not just talking to yourself or repeating empty phrases. You're establishing a direct connection, a living relationship with the creative force that animates all existence. And this connection amplifies everything that follows in your 18-minute protocol. It's like the difference between trying to power a device with a weak battery versus plugging directly into an infinite power source. The same actions take on completely different potency when they're rooted in this direct connection. But there's another layer to this that deepens the transformation even further. When you acknowledge that your life is a gift, that your soul was returned to you, you're recognizing something that most people sleepwalk through their entire existence without ever truly grasping. You've been granted another day. Not because you earned it, not because you're owed it, but because there's a mission you're here to fulfill, a purpose that hasn't been completed yet. Every morning that you wake up is the universe saying, not yet. You still have work to do. You still have potential to actualize. You still have contributions to make. This recognition shifts your entire mindset from entitlement to opportunity. You stop taking your days for granted. You stop wasting hours on meaningless distractions. You stop playing small because you understand that you've been given something precious, time, consciousness, another chance to become who you're meant to be. And this isn't just inspirational language. This is practical psychology that impacts every decision you make. When you truly feel in your bones that today is a gift, not a given, you approach it with urgency, with intention, with a sense of sacred responsibility. The people who experience breakthrough transformations, the ones who go from struggle to abundance, from confusion to clarity, from anxiety to authority, they all share this fundamental shift in perspective. They stopped viewing their mornings as something to get through and started viewing them as something to honor. They recognized that being alive, being conscious, having another opportunity, is an act of divine mercy that deserves their full attention and deepest gratitude. Comment: today is my gift. If this perspective is landing in your heart right now and shifting how you see this day you've been given. Now let me share something with you that has the power to heal wounds you didn't even know you were carrying. When you truly absorb the reality that your soul was returned to you out of pure, unadulterated compassion, not because you earned it, not because you did everything right yesterday, not because you're somehow special compared to others. Everything changes in how you see yourself. You didn't have to prove your worthiness. You didn't have to bargain or beg. The source of all existence simply decided, out of infinite love and compassion, to give you another day. This recognition fills you with something most people spend their entire lives desperately seeking: a sense of being genuinely loved, being cared for at the deepest level, being worthy simply because you exist. Think about how much of your energy gets consumed trying to prove that you're good enough, smart enough, successful enough, spiritual enough. How much anxiety comes from the fear that you're not measuring up, that you're somehow failing some cosmic test. But when you start your morning by acknowledging that you've already been given the ultimate vote of confidence, your very life restored to you, that desperate striving begins to dissolve. You stop operating from a place of trying to earn love and start operating from a place of knowing you're already loved. And that shift in your fundamental self-perception transforms everything about how you show up in the world, how you make decisions, how you handle challenges. But here's where this gets even more profound, and this is the revelation that completely flips the script on how most people approach spirituality. The most powerful realization you can have is not about your faith in God. It's about God's faith in you. Really let that sink in. The universe believes in you so much that it gave you your soul back today. It has faith that today you can overcome your challenges. It has confidence that today you can take another step toward becoming who you were meant to be. You're not starting your morning trying to convince some distant power that you deserve help. You're starting from the recognition that you've already been entrusted with another precious day because there's belief in your potential. This reverses the entire dynamic. Instead of approaching your day feeling like you're on trial, constantly trying to prove yourself worthy of blessings and abundance, you approach it knowing that the investment has already been made in you. You've been given resources, time, consciousness, creative power, because there's faith that you'll use them well. And when you operate from that foundation, from that knowing that you're trusted and believed in, you naturally rise to meet that faith. You stop playing small not because you're trying to earn approval, but because you're honoring the trust that's already been placed in you. Write "I am trusted" in the comments if you're feeling this shift from proving yourself to honoring the faith that's already been shown in you. What I love about this practice is its elegant simplicity. We're talking about 30 seconds, literally half a minute, that has the power to completely reframe your reality. This isn't some elaborate ritual that requires an hour of preparation or special tools or perfect conditions. It's a spiritual reset button that you can press the moment consciousness returns, and it becomes the foundation upon which everything else in the 18-minute protocol is built. 30 seconds of genuine gratitude, felt deeply in those first pure moments of waking, can transform your entire day. It shifts the lens through which you perceive everything that follows. Problems that would have seemed insurmountable suddenly become manageable. Opportunities that would have been invisible suddenly come into focus. Your energy, your mindset, your entire vibrational frequency changes in that brief moment. But here's something I need to share with you, because it's important that you understand. This path is real, with real challenges, even for those who teach it. Florence Scovel Shinn herself, the woman who brought this protocol forward, wasn't living in some blissful state of constant abundance when she discovered these principles. She was struggling. Her spiritual work was barely sustainable financially. She was teaching faith to others while privately wrestling with her own doubts and fears about money. She was living a contradiction that many spiritual teachers can relate to: knowing the truth intellectually, teaching it to others, but not fully embodying it in her own life. This reality check is crucial because it shows you that this journey isn't reserved for people who have it all figured out. It's not only accessible to those who are already successful or naturally gifted or free from doubt. Florence was in the trenches, dealing with the same anxieties and financial pressures that you might be facing right now. She knew what it felt like to wonder where the next month's rent would come from while simultaneously trying to inspire others to trust in divine provision. And this vulnerability, this honesty about the struggle, is what makes her teaching so powerful. She wasn't speaking from some ivory tower of theoretical knowledge. She was sharing from the battlefield of real-life experience. The breakthrough came when she stopped treating the protocol as something she taught others and started treating it as something she had to master herself. There's a profound difference between knowing something and living it, between understanding a principle intellectually and integrating it so deeply that it becomes your automatic response to life. The transformation happens not when you can explain these concepts to others, but when you commit to practicing them with precision and consistency in your own life, especially during the moments when everything seems to be falling apart. Leave "I'm practicing, not just learning" in the comments if you recognize that real transformation requires you to live these principles, not just understand them intellectually. There came a morning in Florence's life that would become the turning point, though she didn't know it at the time. She was facing a financial crisis that felt absolutely crushing, a $10,000 shortfall with no clear solution, no backup plan, no safety net. When she opened her eyes that morning, the first thing she felt wasn't gratitude or connection or any of the things she taught. It was pure panic. Her stomach was in knots. Her mind immediately started racing through worst-case scenarios. And what did she do? She rushed through the morning gratitude practice mechanically, barely present, saying the words but not feeling anything. It was like going through the motions of a conversation while your mind is somewhere else entirely. Then she went straight into crisis mode, making frantic phone calls, sending desperate emails, trying to force solutions through sheer willpower and anxiety. By 10 in the morning, she was completely depleted. The calls weren't working. The emails got no responses. The desperation in her energy was probably pushing away the very help she was trying to attract. She felt like a fraud, teaching others about faith and abundance while sitting there in complete despair, head in her hands, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. That's when her partner found her and asked a question that cut through all the panic like a knife. "Did you talk to the boss this morning? Did you actually connect? Did you do the protocol?" And Florence realized with shocking clarity what had happened. She had let the practice slip. Over time, without even noticing it, she had reduced the powerful 18-minute protocol into a rushed, watered-down 2-minute version that had no real power because it had no real presence. She was doing it out of obligation, out of habit, but not out of genuine connection. The words were there, but the consciousness behind them had evaporated. This is the trap that catches so many people on the spiritual path. You learn a powerful practice, you experience some initial results, and then gradually, almost imperceptibly, you start cutting corners. You're busy, you're stressed, you tell yourself that you'll do the full version tomorrow, and before you know it, you're just going through empty motions. The ritual becomes routine, and routine becomes mechanical, and mechanical becomes powerless. The form is still there, but the essence has leaked out. And you wonder why things aren't working anymore, why the abundance isn't flowing, why you feel disconnected and anxious despite knowing all the right principles. Florence's partner didn't lecture her or judge her. She simply pointed her back to what actually works, to the practice that had power when done with full presence and intention. Sometimes the most important wisdom comes in the form of a simple question that forces you to get honest about whether you're truly doing the work or just pretending to do it. Type "full presence matters" in the comments if you've caught yourself going through spiritual motions without actually being present to the practice. What happened next is something that might sound strange, but it's exactly what Florence needed in that moment. Her partner looked at her with such love and wisdom and said, "Go back to bed." Florence was confused. Go back to bed? In the middle of a crisis? When there were calls to make and problems to solve, but her partner insisted, "Go back to bed and wake up again, but this time, do it right." It was such a simple instruction, yet it contained a profound truth about the power of reset, of starting over, of giving yourself permission to begin again, even when the day has already gone wrong. So Florence did something that probably felt ridiculous. She went back to her bedroom, got under the covers, closed her eyes, and took several deep breaths to clear the panic from her system. She let go of the frantic energy, the desperate mindset, the fear that had been driving her all morning. And then she woke up again. But this time, everything was different. This time, she didn't rush. This time, she didn't just recite words while her mind was elsewhere. She felt them. She felt the gratitude for consciousness returning. She felt the presence of infinite intelligence surrounding her. She felt the miracle of her soul being restored, the gift of another day, the faith that had been placed in her. This distinction between going through the motions and actually being present to the experience is everything. You can say all the right words, follow all the right steps, but if you're not genuinely feeling it, if your consciousness isn't actually engaged, if your heart isn't open, if you're just performing a ritual mechanically, then you're missing the entire point. The power isn't in the words themselves. The power is in the state of consciousness you enter, when you speak those words with genuine presence and feeling. It's the difference between reading a recipe and actually tasting the food. Both involve the same ingredients, but only one nourishes you. When Florence woke up the second time and did the full 18-minute protocol with complete intention and presence, she entered a completely different reality. The fear that had been suffocating her dissolved. The desperation that had been driving her frantic actions evaporated. In its place came a profound calm, a deep knowing that everything was going to work out, not because she could see how, but because she had reconnected to the source of all solutions. She hadn't made a single phone call. She hadn't solved the problem through any external action. But internally, everything had shifted. And when your internal state changes, your external reality has no choice but to follow. Comment: I choose presence. If you're understanding that the transformation happens not in the doing, but in the quality of consciousness you bring to what you're doing. Florence then moved through the complete 18-minute protocol with a level of focus and intention she hadn't brought to it in months. She performed the ritual hand-washing, feeling the symbolic cleansing of old energy with each pour of water. She spoke the blessings slowly, letting each word resonate in her consciousness rather than racing through them. She spent time with sacred texts, not just reading words, but absorbing wisdom, connecting her mind to something far greater than her immediate problems. She gave charity, a small amount, but given with the recognition that she was declaring herself a channel of abundance, not someone hoarding resources out of fear. For those 18 minutes, she wasn't a desperate woman facing financial ruin. She entered a completely different reality, a different state of being. In that space, she was like royalty in the palace of infinite abundance, communing directly with the source of all provision. The crisis still existed in the physical world, but in the spiritual dimension she had accessed through this practice, she was positioned in a place of power, clarity, and divine connection. The external circumstances hadn't changed, but her relationship to those circumstances had been completely transformed. When Florence finished the protocol and opened her eyes, she was a different person. Not metaphorically different, actually fundamentally different. The fear that had been gripping her chest was gone. The desperation that had been driving her frantic behavior had evaporated. The anxiety that had been clouding her judgment had cleared. In its place was something she couldn't have manufactured through positive thinking or willpower, a profound calm, a deep certainty, an unshakable knowing that everything was going to be okay. She couldn't explain how she knew. She had no logical reason to believe it. She hadn't made a single phone call or sent an email that would solve the problem. But she knew it in every fiber of her being. This is what happens when you align yourself properly in those crucial morning minutes. You access a kind of knowing that transcends logic and circumstance. You tap into intelligence that sees solutions your rational mind can't perceive. You position yourself in the flow of divine providence where miracles aren't violations of natural law. They're simply the natural outcome of being in the right place, at the right frequency at the right time. Florence sat there in that calm, centered state. And for the first time all day, she wasn't trying to force anything. She wasn't chasing solutions. She was simply present, open, and receptive to whatever wanted to unfold. The transformation wasn't about her circumstances changing in that moment. It was about her consciousness changing so completely that she became capable of receiving the solution that was already trying to reach her, but couldn't penetrate her earlier state of panic and desperation. Right, calm before the breakthrough, if you're recognizing that sometimes the shift in your internal state has to come before the external breakthrough can manifest. At 11:30 that morning, Florence's phone rang. She looked at the number, unfamiliar, not someone from her contact list. Under normal circumstances, she might have let it go to voicemail, but something told her to answer. On the other end was a man she had never met, never spoken to, someone who had no prior connection to her life or work. He introduced himself and then said something that made her heart skip a beat. "I was driving through your neighborhood this morning on my way to a business meeting, and I passed your building. I felt this overwhelming pull to stop, to come inside. I can't really explain it, but it was like something was calling me." He had walked into one of her classes that was happening that morning, sat quietly in the back, and listened for maybe 10 minutes. He wasn't looking for spiritual teaching. He wasn't searching for answers to life's big questions, but something in what Florence was sharing, some quality in her words, some energy in the room, touched his soul in a way that he couldn't ignore or explain logically. This was a successful businessman, someone who made decisions based on numbers and facts. Yet here he was calling because he felt moved by something intangible, something that transcended rational calculation. What he said next demonstrated a principle that most people miss about wealth and abundance. He told Florence, "I'm a wealthy man, and I've learned over the years that the best investments aren't always the ones that promise the highest returns on paper. The best investments are in things that have soul, things that carry real purpose and meaning. Does your work need anything? Is there any way I can support what you're doing?" Florence, still in that state of calm certainty from her morning protocol, honestly shared the financial situation. No manipulation, no desperate pitch, just honest transparency about the need. The man's response was immediate and generous, beyond what was required. He said, "Consider it done. What's your account information?" Within hours, he had wired $25,000. Not $10,000 to cover the immediate crisis, but $25,000. More than enough to handle the current need and provide a cushion for the month ahead. The solution didn't just meet the problem, it exceeded it. This is what happens when you're aligned properly. The universe doesn't just give you what you asked for, it gives you what you need with abundance to spare. This wasn't luck or coincidence. This was the direct result of Florence shifting her internal state through the 18-minute protocol. When she was in panic and desperation earlier that morning, making those frantic calls, she was energetically repelling the very help she needed. But when she reset, when she aligned herself properly, when she entered that state of calm receptivity, she became a vibrational match for the miracle that was trying to reach her. Comment: solutions are seeking me. If you're beginning to understand that when you align internally, the external solutions you need are already on their way to find you. That day taught Florence the most important lesson of her entire journey, and it's a lesson that will transform how you think about creating wealth. The money wasn't made by the phone calls. The money wasn't made by the frantic networking or the desperate pitches or the hustling and grinding. The money was made in the first 18 minutes of the day. Everything else after that was simply picking it up, receiving what had already been set in motion through proper spiritual alignment. This is the hidden truth that wealthy people who understand these principles have known for centuries. Your external actions are far less important than your internal state when you take those actions. The I protocol creates the energetic conditions for abundance to flow into your life. It's like preparing soil before planting seeds. You can scatter seeds on hard, unprepared ground and wonder why nothing grows, or you can properly prepare the soil, create the right conditions, and watch abundance spring forth almost effortlessly. Most people are trying to force results through action alone, through more effort, more hours, more hustle. But they're working with soil that hasn't been prepared, with energy that hasn't been aligned, with consciousness that's broadcasting the wrong frequency. Now here's where precision becomes absolutely critical. And this is something I need you to understand deeply, because so many people fail here. The protocol must be done with surgical precision. No skipping steps because you're running late. No rushing through sections because you think you get the idea. No half-hearted execution where you're physically doing the practice but mentally somewhere else. The number 18 itself is significant. It represents life force, vital energy, the power of creation itself. When you dedicate these 18 minutes with complete focus and intention, you're literally programming your day with life force. You're setting the energetic blueprint that everything else will follow. The protocol has 4 distinct phases, and each phase serves a specific purpose in the sequence. It's not arbitrary. It's not random. It's structured the way it is because that's how consciousness and energy actually work. You can't skip phase 1 and jump to phase 4 expecting the same results. Just like you can't skip foundation and framing when building a house and expect the roof to hold. Each phase builds on the previous one, creating a cumulative effect that positions you in perfect alignment with the abundance you're seeking. This is spiritual technology, remember? Technology works because it follows specific protocols, specific sequences, specific laws. When you follow them precisely, you get reliable, repeatable results. When you try to improvise or cut corners or do your own version, you break the circuit and wonder why nothing's happening. Type, "I commit to precision," in the comments if you're ready to stop half-doing practices and start following the complete protocol with the discipline it requires. Let me walk you through the exact structure so you can implement this starting tomorrow morning. Phase 1 is called the awakening, and it takes 2 minutes total. This is where everything begins, where you capture that pure state of consciousness before the mind reconstructs its usual identity and concerns. During the first minute, you remain completely still, eyes closed, body relaxed, not moving a single muscle. In this state, you speak the gratitude declaration we discussed earlier, but you say it slowly, letting each word penetrate your consciousness. You're not reciting, you're meditating on the meaning, feeling the reality that your soul has been restored, that divine faith has been placed in you for this new day. Then, in the second minute, you open your eyes and sit up. But before your feet touch the ground, this timing is crucial. You speak a blessing for strength. You're acknowledging that the power to move through this day, to face its challenges, to fulfill your purpose, comes from a source beyond your own limited resources. You're starting with humility and connection rather than ego and independence. These 2 minutes set the tone for everything that follows. They establish your consciousness in gratitude and your body in recognition of divine support. Phase 2 is the purification, and it takes 3 minutes. This is where you physically engage in the practice, moving from the internal to the external. You get out of bed and go immediately to a basin of water and cup that you've prepared the night before. This preparation is important. It shows intentionality. It removes decision-making from the morning moment. It demonstrates that you're serious about this practice. And here's a key instruction. Do not speak to anyone. Do not check your phone. Do not get distracted by anything else. Your focus is absolute. You pour water 3 times over your right hand, then 3 times over your left hand. This isn't about physical cleanliness. You'll shower later. This is about spiritual cleansing, washing away the residue from the night, the impurities that accumulated in your energy field while you slept. In mystical traditions across the world, water has always been understood as a purifying element, something that can cleanse not just the body, but the subtle energies that surround and penetrate it. You're performing a ritual that signals to your subconscious mind and to the invisible forces around you that you're beginning fresh, that you're releasing whatever doesn't serve your highest purpose today. This physical act grounds the spiritual intention you set in phase 1. You're not just thinking about transformation, you're embodying it through deliberate action. Your body is learning the practice, your hands are participating in the ritual, your entire being is engaged in the process of alignment. Leave "I'm ready to begin" in the comments if you're feeling the power of these first 2 phases and you're committed to starting this practice with full presence tomorrow morning. Phase 3 is where the real magic happens, and this is called the connection. This phase takes 10 minutes total, and it's split into 2 distinct but complementary practices. The first 5 minutes are dedicated to learning a small piece of sacred text. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be a scholar or understand ancient languages. It can be a single verse from any wisdom tradition that speaks to you, a psalm, a passage from spiritual literature, a paragraph from teachings that resonate with your soul. The content doesn't have to be complex or lengthy. What matters is that you're connecting your mind to something beyond your own limited thinking. You're essentially downloading a spiritual operating system for the day. Think about it, like updating the software on your computer. Your mind has been running on yesterday's programming, yesterday's beliefs, yesterday's limitations. By spending these 5 minutes absorbing wisdom that comes from a higher source, you're aligning your thoughts with creation itself, with intelligence that sees far beyond what your rational mind can perceive. You're giving your consciousness something pure and elevated to work with as you move through your day. This isn't about memorization or intellectual achievement. It's about exposure, about letting truth wash over your mind and recalibrate your perspective. Then comes the second 5 minutes, and this is where you shift from receiving to expressing. This is your personal, unstructured prayer time. No formal language required, no specific script to follow. You simply talk to the divine presence, in your own words, as you would speak to the most loving, understanding friend imaginable. Share your hopes, your fears, your dreams. Be honest about what's weighing on you. Be vulnerable about where you need support. This intimacy, this direct communication without intermediaries or pretense, creates a bond that transforms your entire relationship with the invisible forces that shape your reality. But here's the key that makes this practice exponentially more powerful. Spend at least half of these 5 minutes thanking for the solutions to your problems as if they've already happened. This is preemptive gratitude, and it's one of the most potent manifestation techniques ever discovered. Instead of begging for help with your financial situation, you thank for the money that's already on its way. Instead of pleading for the right opportunity, you express gratitude for the doors that are already opening. You're speaking from the end result, from the reality you're creating, and this shifts your vibration from lack and need into abundance and receptivity. When you pray from already having received, you're not just hoping something might happen. You're declaring that it's done, that the solution exists right now in the invisible realm and is making its way into your physical experience. This level of faith, expressed through grateful acknowledgement, accelerates manifestation in ways that desperate pleading never could. Write, "Thank you for what's coming," in the comments if you Understand the power of gratitude that precedes the manifestation rather than follows it. Phase 4 is called the activation, and this is where you seal the entire protocol with physical action that demonstrates your faith. This phase takes 3 minutes, but its impact reverberates through your entire day and beyond. The first action is giving charity. Now, this doesn't need to be a large amount. It can be a single dollar, even a quarter. The amount isn't what matters. What matters is the act itself and what it represents. Have a charity box prepared and ready, something physical where you can place this gift first thing in the morning. When you give money away at the beginning of your day, especially when you're facing your own financial challenges, you're making a profound declaration to the universe. You're saying, I am a channel through which abundance flows, not a container that hoards out of fear. You're demonstrating that you believe so completely in the principle of circulation that you're willing to let resources move through you even before you've seen evidence of more coming in. This is radical faith in action. It's the opposite of scarcity consciousness that grips most people, making them hold tightly to every dollar out of fear that there won't be enough. The act of giving first thing in the morning shifts your identity from someone who needs to someone who has enough to share. And the universe responds to identity, to the frequency you're broadcasting, about who you are and what you believe about resources. When you give, you're telling the invisible forces that govern abundance, I trust the flow. I know more is coming. I'm already operating from overflow. This single act can break poverty consciousness faster than almost anything else because it forces you to embody abundance before you feel it. Then comes the final element of the activation phase, and this is where you create a laser-focused target for all the energy you've generated through the protocol. You take out a piece of paper and write down the one most important thing you need to accomplish today that will move you toward your financial goals. Not 5 things, not 10 things, just one. This is crucial because most people diffuse their energy across too many objectives and end up making minimal progress on all of them. But when you identify the single most important action and declare it in writing, you focus all the divine flow you've just opened through the protocol onto that one target. This isn't just a to-do list item. This is you telling the universe exactly where you want the support, the inspiration, the synchronicities, the miraculous assistance to flow. You're creating a clear channel, a specific destination for all that spiritual energy to pour into. And when you combine focused intention with the aligned state you've cultivated through the previous phases, you become unstoppable in manifesting that one critical thing. Comment. One focused goal. If you're understanding that power comes not from doing everything, but from doing the right thing with complete presence and divine support. After you've written down that one focused goal, there's a final declaration that completes the entire protocol and sends you into your day with maximum power. You speak these words aloud, with intention and conviction. I am now going out into your world as your partner. May my work bring blessing and honor to your name. This isn't a passive prayer. This is a declaration of partnership with the creative force of the universe. You're not going out as a lone warrior fighting against overwhelming odds. You're going out as a co-creator, working in alignment with infinite intelligence, carrying divine purpose into every interaction and decision you make. This statement transforms how you approach your work. You're no longer just trying to make money or survive or get ahead. You're on a mission to bring blessing into the world, to honor the source of all provision through the quality of your work and the integrity of your character. And when you operate from this elevated purpose, everything changes. Your work becomes sacred. Your business becomes a vehicle for divine expression. Your financial success becomes a testimony to what's possible when human effort aligns with spiritual principle. This is a declaration of war against the forces of lack and chaos that have kept you small and struggling. You're announcing that you're done playing defense and you're stepping into your role as a creator, as someone who shapes reality rather than merely reacts to it. Now, you might be wondering if this actually works in the real world, or if it's just beautiful theory that sounds good but doesn't translate into tangible results. Let me share what I've witnessed and what countless others have documented. There are real estate agents who were on the brink of bankruptcy, drowning in debt with no clear way out, who started this protocol, and within 60 days, just 2 months, had gone from financial disaster to multi-millionaire status. Not through some complicated strategy or lucky break, but simply by aligning themselves properly every single morning for 3 days straight until the breakthrough came. There are graphic designers who were talented but invisible, struggling to find clients in a crowded market, who implemented this 18-minute practice and by week 2 had landed 6-figure contracts. There are entrepreneurs with brilliant ideas but no funding, living on credit cards and hope, who committed to the protocol for 30 days and on that 30th day secured million-dollar investments that transformed everything. These aren't fairy tales or exaggerations. These are documented transformations that happened because the protocol positioned these individuals in the right place at the right time, with the right state of mind for miracles to occur. The pattern is consistent. When you align your consciousness properly, in those first 18 minutes, you become a magnet for opportunities, synchronicities, and connections that were always there but couldn't reach you in your previous state. Type, I believe in miracles, if you're ready to step into this level of transformation and see what becomes possible when you commit fully to this practice. So here we are at the end of this journey together, and if you've made it this far, you're not here by accident. Something in you recognizes the truth of what we've explored today. You understand that those first 18 minutes hold power that most people will never tap into because they'll never slow down enough to listen, to commit, to actually practice rather than just consume information. If this conversation has resonated with you, if you're feeling that spark of recognition that says, this is what I've been missing, then I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Because what we do here isn't about surface-level motivation or quick fixes. We go deep into the principles that actually create lasting transformation. Every video is designed to give you practical wisdom you can implement immediately, tools that work in the real world, not just theories that sound good but go nowhere. And look, I'd love to know you made it all the way through. Drop a comment right now and just say, this message was meant for me. When I see those words, I'll know you're serious, that you're part of the community of people who are done playing small and ready to step into their full creative power. If what we covered today connected with you, hit that like button. It helps more people find this content, and honestly, it lets me know this work is landing where it needs to land. Your engagement matters more than you realize. Now, there's another video right here that takes this even deeper into how you can maintain this aligned state throughout your entire day, not just in the morning. Click over and continue this journey with me. I'll meet you there, and we'll keep building this foundation of transformation together.